Here's the thing no one tells you when you're thinking about moving to Ohio. Bigger does not always mean better. Columbus might get all of the attention, but if you look a little closer, Toledo might actually be the smart choice for you, and not just for your budget. Hey everyone, I'm Garrett Luhring, host of Moving to Toledo and your local realtor with Danberry Realtors and the Luxion home team. If you're considering a move to Ohio or maybe just trying to decide which city actually fits your lifestyle, this video's for you. We're going to break down the facts, the vibe, and the hidden stuff people don't talk about when comparing Columbus to Toledo. And trust me, it's a tighter race than most people might think. But before we dive in, do me a quick favor and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you want to stay up to date on all things Northwest Ohio. Now let's start with the obvious: cost of living. Columbus is a bigger city, the capital, the hub of tech, politics, higher ed, and all of that adds up. You're going to pay for that buzz. The median home price in Columbus is around $350,000 depending on the source you use. That number jumps even higher if you're looking in those high demand suburbs like Dublin or Bexley. In Toledo, that same price tag will get you way more house in a great area. We're talking a median around $135,000 in Toledo, and in some parts of the metro, even lower. Obviously, once you go into the suburbs and the better school districts, it gets a little bit higher, but that median price is less than half of what you're seeing in Columbus. It's the difference between affording a home or staying in a rental in many areas. It's a finished basement, it's money left over for travel, upgrades, or just not being house poor. And it's not just about what you buy. Rent in Columbus is also consistently higher, around $1,100 to $1,200 for a basic one-bedroom apartment. In Toledo and its suburbs, you're looking at closer to $600 to $900 a month for a one-bedroom apartment. Plus, looking at groceries, utilities, gas, and even a night out, it really all costs less here. Yes, I won't deny you do have less options. You have less of the up and coming hype, but it does cost less here, and you can do a lot on a budget and not break the bank. The cost of living in Columbus is roughly 18% higher than that in Toledo, and really that's not a small margin when you look at the numbers. Here's something that might surprise you too. Realtor.com recently ranked Toledo the #1 hottest housing market in the entire country going into 2025. Not because we're growing like crazy, but because we've been undervalued for years. Buyers are realizing they can live here without overextending themselves, and that makes Toledo a smart place to invest or settle down long term. Now, let's move on to jobs, because that's where Columbus really flexes. If you're climbing the corporate ladder, Columbus is packed with opportunity. You've got Fortune 500 companies, Ohio State University, and a booming healthcare and finance scene. Unemployment tends to run low, and future job growth is looking strong. The Intel semiconductor plant coming to the area is going to be a game changer, creating thousands of jobs, making Columbus a serious player in advanced manufacturing. Toledo is not on the same scale, unfortunately, but we don't count it out completely. We do have major employers too, like Jeep, First Solar, ProMedica, Owens, Illinois, just to name a few. And healthcare and education are really big here. So is solar. So is logistics. Thanks to our location near the Great Lakes and major highways like I-475 and I-75. If you're in the trades, manufacturing, or working remotely, Toledo offers a quieter, more affordable place to build a life without sacrificing opportunity. Unemployment's a little higher than Columbus, but we're also seeing a lot of reinvestment and job growth in emerging industries. Here's where things get interesting. Let's talk taxes, because this is where the math can get fuzzy. Property taxes in Toledo, specifically Lucas County, are about 1.82%. Columbus and Franklin County is around 1.64%. So technically, yes, the rate is lower in Columbus on average, but because home prices are higher, the actual amount you pay can end up pretty similar. In many cases, you're still paying less in Toledo simply because the house itself costs less, but if you're in certain designated areas, your taxes are going to simply be less as well. Now, local income tax, Both cities are right around 2.5%, and Ohio state income tax is the same no matter where you live. So, from a tax perspective, it's basically a tie. It all circles back to affordability, and on that front, Toledo keeps coming out ahead. Local income tax. Well, if we're looking at the cities as a whole, as in Toledo proper and Columbus proper, both cities are right around 2.5%. And Ohio state income tax can vary depending on where you live. There are areas here in Northwest Ohio that have a 0% income tax in most of the townships, and there are other areas with as low as 1.25 to 1.5% in many of the suburbs. So, from a tax perspective, it can be similar. Income tax can be a little bit lower in certain areas of Toledo, but Columbus has some of those pockets too. So it comes down to affordability and lifestyle. Which one meets the mark on those standards? Now, if you've got children or you're planning to, school districts matter. Here's what's true across the board. If you want great schools, look to the suburbs. In Columbus, districts like Dublin, Olentangy, and Upper Arlington are among the best in the state, while in Toledo, we've got Ottawa Hills, Perrysburg, Sylvania, Anthony Wayne, and Maumee, all highly rated, competitive, and community focused. Both cities' core school districts, Columbus City Schools and Toledo Public, have their challenges. They also have their strengths with magnet programs and passionate teachers. But most families looking for consistency and performance are going to focus on surrounding suburbs either way. For higher education, Columbus obviously has the clear edge. It's home to The Ohio State University, one of the biggest universities in the country, my own alma mater, and that brings research, energy, and opportunity. Toledo has the University of Toledo, and not too far, we also have Bowling Green. University of Toledo is a solid public university with strong engineering, nursing, and medical programs. Plus, we have Owens Community College and other smaller institutions throughout the city, depending on what's important to you. So, if higher education is your top priority, Columbus wins that round. Now, let's move away from stats for a second and talk lifestyle. What does it actually feel like to live in each place? Columbus is bigger, roughly 900,000 people compared to Toledo's 270,000. That means more restaurants, more nightlife, more big events, and more crowds. Columbus has a cool, urban, hipster feel. It has the short north, it has German Village, downtown, and for someone who thrives in the fast paced, energetic environment, it delivers. I lived in Columbus there another 4 years after school. Miss it completely, loved it there. It was a great time. However, as I've gotten older and some of my values and my goals and desires have changed, I have found Toledo as a great spot to always come back to and a great place to build a future. In Columbus, you'll find pro sports teams, major concerts, festivals, and a growing international food scene, while Toledo has a different rhythm. It's smaller, more relaxed, and easier to get around, but that doesn't mean it's boring. We've got the Toledo Museum of Art, which is a world class and free art museum, the Toledo Zoo, which is consistently ranked one of the best in the country, and some of the best metro parks, not only in Ohio, but in the US. Seriously, Metro Parks Toledo just won a national gold medal for best park system in the country. We've got great hiking or walking trails, however you want to look at it, kayaking, biking, fishing, boating areas, and obviously Lake Erie right around the corner. Downtown Toledo is also growing. I grew up in Toledo and I felt like it didn't have a ton to do when I was younger, but just in the last 5 to 10 years, it has grown enormously. The Warehouse District has become a local hotspot with breweries, restaurants, rooftop bars, and minor league sports. You've got Mud Hens for baseball, the Walleye for hockey, and a ton of local festivals, art shows, and events throughout the year. It is a smaller scene, but it's tight knit and passionate. And let's be honest, parking downtown in Toledo, that's fairly easy when it's not super crowded. Try that on a Friday night in Columbus and you will drive miles. Which brings me to something no one really thinks about until it's part of their daily life: traffic. And I've driven both of these areas, so believe me when I say this. In Columbus, the average commute is 26 minutes, but sometimes it can be up to 45 for that same drive. That's not terrible, but during rush hour, you will feel it on I 270 and I 70 and I 71. they all back up. They're 3 to 4 lanes, and there's so much traffic, construction, and reckless driving. It can be a true pain and dangerous. And if you're trying to get across town at 5:30 p.m., good luck with all of the employers there and all the different suburbs and people coming and going. It is a mess. Now, in Toledo, the average commute is 20 minutes, but there are many people who are well below that. They actually call Toledo the 20-minute city because it takes you roughly 20 minutes to get from any part of Lucas County to the other, whether that's the suburbs or Toledo itself. And honestly, sometimes that 20 minutes even feels long. We don't really do a ton of traffic here unless there's construction and backup. You can get from one side of town to the other without sitting in bumper to bumper frustration. You're almost always moving. That's time back in your day. If you're someone who values peace of mind and not spending an hour a day in the car, this matters a lot. Now, let's talk about where each city is heading moving forward. Columbus is exploding. There's no doubt about that. The Intel project is massive. New apartments, new restaurants, new infrastructure, and a growing population to take it all in. It's growing fast, but with growth comes pressure. Housing prices rise, traffic increases, the pace of life speeds up. Great for some people, not so great for others. When we look at Toledo, its story is a bit quieter, but we are still building and growing. The city's invested over $1 billion into development recently. The Glass City Riverwalk is reconnecting the city to the Maumee River in a meaningful way. It is truly amazing with its own ice skating rink, roller skating rink, plenty of room to walk around, restaurants, kayak launches, and so much more. Old neighborhoods like Uptown and the Warehouse District are seeing mass revitalization, new apartments, shops, small businesses, and the whole Ostrich District, which is popping up around that to bring it to life. Toledo isn't trying to become Columbus. It's carving out its own identity, affordable, walkable, accessible, and full of potential. Now, we aren't quite there on all fronts yet, but I can tell you, as someone who's lived and grown up here, we have made significant progress. So, the real question you got to ask yourself, what kind of life do you want? If you want nonstop energy, big city buzz, and a job market with Fortune 500s and tech unicorns, Columbus is an awesome place for that. It's fast, growing, and full of opportunity, especially for young professionals or people chasing upward mobility in corporate fields. But if you're looking for balance, affordable housing, short commutes, access to nature, solid schools, and a strong sense of community, Toledo deserves a serious consideration, especially if you're raising a family, retiring, or just want more freedom to live how you want without breaking the bank. And hey, I'm not just saying that because I live here. I've worked with countless relocation clients who came to tour both cities and chose Toledo. Not because it's flashier, but because it felt like the smarter decision. It felt right to them. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for all things Northwest Ohio.